Okay, welcome back. We started talking about the intersection table. And the idea is if you have a many-to-many relationship, you're probably going to end up with a third table that kind of joins them together. So for example, I have a student table and a schedule, but in order to make this work, I actually need a third table in the middle, where the student table belongs over here and the course ID belongs over there. So there's an interesting way you can determine how many keys are going to be in the intersection table. You just count up the number of keys. And so over here, there's one key, one. Over here, there's two, for a total of three. So your intersection table is going to have 3 columns. So this way, now, normally an intersection table may have no other data in it whatsoever. Its sole purpose in life is to glue these two many tables together. That's its sole purpose in life. Later on, we may have something a little bit more exotic where you would put down, for example, the date that you signed up for that course or some other piece of information. But for right now, an intersection table is just a construct that's made up to allow you to have a many-to-many relationship going. So here's another example. Here's a more complicated one where I have a semester and a course and a section and a professor and blah, 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 blah. And then I have a student table over here. So how many columns do I have over here being primary keys? I got 3. How many over here? I got 1. So how many columns am I going to have in the primary key of the intersection table? 4. Semester, course, section, and student ID. So this is just an example of how to do that. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of wrap up here because we're almost done. Thank goodness. So after normalization, you really shouldn't be missing any columns, right? Nothing should be missing. And you should have very few, if any, duplicates. Now, obviously, you're going to have some duplicates. For example, here, I've got a section, a student ID and a student ID, but one of these is a foreign key. So that's okay. It's okay to have duplicates. There's another scenario coming up sometime later in the course where you want to archive a value. For example, a unit price. When you place an order, you don't want to be using the live current unit price because that may change later. You want to use a historic, so you make like a Xerox copy of it. We'll talk about that later. But for the most part, no duplicates unless they're foreign keys. So just to review, first normal form is a functional dependency issue, and it's just a relation with the primary key. That's all. Second normal form is that thing where it first of all requires a compound primary key. So everything has to be related to both parts of a primary key. Third normal form is the little hop, where one thing determines one thing and something else determines something else, a transitive dependency. BCNF is just closing the loophole, and the way to describe it is by not describing it. The way to describe it is talk about overlapping candidate keys. And fourth normal form is the multi-valued one. And again, that one is probably difficult to describe. But in practical terms, it's if I want to add one item, I have to insert multiple rows. That's an indication of a fourth normal form violation. Okay, so in supplemental materials, there's a review of normal forms that kind of goes through this. That's pretty good. And there's some drills that you can do for Chapter 3 drills. Okay, so those may actually be very useful for you to do. Okay, we've reached the end of this chapter. And I'll see you guys again in the next chapter.